Mike Johnson thought his job was just driving kids safely to school. But when he noticed that some of his passengers were being picked up by different adults each day, his protective instincts kicked in. What he found would make him a hero and save 15 young lives. Mike Johnson was a 48-year-old experienced man who had been working as a school bus driver at Springfield Elementary School for 12 years. Married and father of 2 children, Mike showed all the students he transported the same love he had for his own children. The children called him Uncle Mike. Springfield was a small town in Ohio. Everyone knew each other, and children felt safe. Mike's route took 45 minutes, and every morning he picked up 38 children and took them to school, and every afternoon he took them home. Mike had memorized the children's names, families, and homes. He knew which child would get off at which stop, whose parents would come to pick them up, and who would walk home. In February 2024, Mike began to notice some changes in his route. First, 8-year-old Emma Chen's behavior had changed. Emma, who was previously very talkative and cheerful, had become quiet and started to look scared. "Emma, how are you today?" Mike had asked one morning. Emma had just nodded her head and hadn't spoken at all. There were bruises under her eyes. A week later, Mike noticed similar changes in 9-year-old Carlos Rivera. Carlos had also become quiet and started acting timid. Most surprising was that these children were being picked up by different adults every day. Normally, children were always picked up by the same people: mother, father, or grandparents. Emma was picked up by a young woman one day, an old man the next day, and another woman the following day. The situation was the same for Carlos. Mike initially thought these were normal family situations. Maybe the family's work schedules had changed. But in the first week of March, the situation became even stranger. Mike saw that 7-year-old Sarah Williams was also being picked up by different people in the same way. All 3 children now looked very quiet, scared, and tired. They wouldn't make eye contact with Mike and sat in the back rows on the bus. Mike's parental instincts began to alarm. Something wasn't right with these children. One Thursday afternoon, Mike observed the man who picked up Sarah more carefully. The man was hurried and was forcefully holding Sarah. Sarah seemed to be resisting. Mike noted his license plate, Ohio RD 4521. The next day, Mike decided to talk to the school principal, Mrs. Henderson. "Mrs. Henderson, I'm worried about some of our children," Mike said. "About what, Mike?" "Emma Chen, Carlos Rivera, and Sarah Williams. They've been acting very differently lately, and they're being picked up by different people every day." Mrs. Henderson frowned. "Let's contact the families. Maybe there are changes within the family." But when Mrs. Henderson spoke with Emma's teacher, Mrs. Parker, she learned surprising information. "Emma's mother called last week," said Mrs. Parker. "She asked why Emma wasn't coming to school. But we told her that Emma comes to school every day." Mrs. Henderson was shocked. "What does this mean?" Emma's mother said her daughter hadn't come home for 3 weeks. She was going to file a missing person report with the police. The same situation applied to Carlos and Sarah. Their families had reported the children missing, but the children continued coming to school. Mrs. Henderson immediately called the police. The situation was very serious. Detective Lisa Morgan took over the case. When she met with Mike, she understood how valuable the driver's observations were. "Mike, can you describe the people who pick up the children?" Mike told in detail all the license plate numbers he had noted and his observations. "These children are most likely victims of human trafficking," said Detective Morgan. "You've given us very important information." When the police investigation began, the horrible truth was revealed. In addition to Emma, Carlos, and Sarah, 12 more children were missing in the area. They had all fallen into the hands of the same gang, an organized child trafficking group called the Network. The gang kidnapped children and hid them in different houses, sending them to school during the day to make it look normal. This way, no one suspected anything. But thanks to Mike's careful observations, the police had found the gang's trail. "Mike, will you work with us?" asked Detective Morgan. "We need your help to save the children." Mike accepted without hesitation. "These children are my responsibility. Of course I'll help." The police placed hidden cameras on Mike's bus. Mike would film the people picking up the children and enable the police to track them. The operation lasted a week. Mike continued recording the people picking up the children every day. Police teams also followed these people. Finally, they found the gang's main base, an abandoned factory outside the city. On the night of the operation, Mike was also with the police team. He wanted to be there when the children were rescued. At 4 a.m., SWAT teams raided the factory. The scene they found inside was horrifying. 15 children were locked in small rooms, kept in poor conditions. All children, including Emma, Carlos, and Sarah, were rescued. "Uncle Mike!" Emma shouted when she saw him. "You found us!" Mike was crying. He hugged the children. "You're safe now. No one will take you away again." Gang leader David Morrison was arrested. 5 more members of the gang were detained. When Morrison confessed, the magnitude of the operation was understood. They had been operating for 3 years and had kidnapped more than 50 children. "We were using the school bus system," Morrison said. "When we sent children to school, no one suspected anything. Without Mike's intervention, the gang would have continued their activities." The media declared Mike a hero. Headlines like "School Bus Driver Superhero" appeared in newspapers. But Mike maintained his humility. "I just did my job. These children were my responsibility." The children were reunited with their families. Emma, Carlos, and Sarah received trauma treatment, but recovered. When they returned to school, they were very happy to see Mike. "Uncle Mike saved us," they told everyone. Springfield Municipality gave Mike the Hero of the City award. In his speech, Mike said, "These children get on my bus every day. They're like my own children. If something happens to them, how can I account to their families?" Mike's story was featured in national media. Other school bus drivers were also trained how to recognize suspicious behavioral changes in children. The Mike Johnson Protocol was developed. All school personnel were ensured to recognize signs of human trafficking. A year later, Mike specialized in child protection. He began working with the FBI and helped solve similar cases in other cities. "Children always give us signs," says Mike. "We just need to pay attention." When Emma's mother, Mrs. Chen, thanked Mike, she said, "You brought Emma back to life, but you didn't just save her life, you saved her future." Today, Mike still works the same route. But now, he's not just a driver, he's also a protector of children. The slogan written on the back of his bus, "Every child is valuable. Every child deserves protection." Mike's story shows that heroes don't have superpowers. Sometimes just careful observation and courage are enough. And most importantly, every profession offers the opportunity to protect people. Like Mike did, responsibility must be taken seriously. "Saving one child is saving the future," says Mike. "And I saved 15 futures." Children in Springfield are now safer because they know Uncle Mike is always watching over them. And Mike also knows that real heroism is doing your daily work with love and never forgetting your responsibility.